Alright everyone, well, hope you all had a fun and turkey-filled Thanksgiving. It's time to move on to that time of the year. Yep, Christmas, or whatever holiday you celebrate, but this list is all about Christmas, and, well, this is a pretty interesting one too. Christmas specials. Yeah, I've done lists on Christmas specials in the past, but this one I'm going to do on the more modern Christmas specials, to be exact. Yes, anything that was released in the last 15 years, to be exact. And also keep in mind, people, that anything that I mentioned in the past, like these specials to be exact, are not going to be on here. Yeah, I'm going to be mentioning ones that I didn't mention before. And basically, yeah, it has to do with Christmas, or at least take place on Christmas, have Christmas decorations. You get the point. Even if it's not purposely made as a Christmas special, if it just happens to have it in there, it's a Christmas special and it's going on this list. So, yep. And also, people, this is just my opinion, so everybody's got their own. Anyway, let's get to it. Starting with number 10, Olaf's Frozen Adventure. Okay, now this one, when it first released, it got some pretty harsh reactions from a lot of fans, and I could think of a couple reasons why. Number one, it's Frozen. I get it. Frozen is pretty much a big hit Disney movie, a big monster that was marketed massively and in some cases kind of obnoxiously. I mean, I know, it's a bit overhyped, but you can't resist the fact that it is a great film, even though it got a sequel, theme park attraction or two, Broadway shows, and so yeah, it does seem like Disney more or less milked the crap out of this one with a couple of short films, including this one. And then another reason, it was played before Disney and Pixar's Coco, which is a great film, by the way, released back in 2017, but when most Disney animated movies are released in theaters, they always have a short film before them, but it's usually no more than 5 minutes. This is 20 minutes long, and I can definitely see why a lot of people were pissed off about this one, because that's basically almost half or at least a third of an animated movie right there. So yeah, I definitely agree. It should have gone direct to TV or streaming or whatever, which it eventually did. It plays on ABC every year because obviously ABC is owned by Disney, like many other studios are that they bought out. And you can also watch it on Disney Plus. You can download it, do whatever to watch it. It's really not a bad special, to be honest. It takes place obviously after the first one because obviously it released before the second film, so it's more or less one of those in-between short films. Unlike Frozen Fever, which was only 5 minutes long. Yeah, like I said, this is 20 minutes, and it's really actually a nice special. It's got a lot of great musical numbers. The animation is pretty much right on par with the first film with all the snow. So, yeah, a lot of people consider the first Frozen movie a Christmas film. Really? Because it has snow in it? If you're going to think that, you might as well just think The Shining or any movie with snow in it is a Christmas movie. No, this is a Christmas special you want to watch that's Frozen related. Because, yeah, it has Christmas. It even has Hanukkah. Any holiday that takes place in December, along with snow. And the musical numbers, they're not as memorable or catchy, but it has a nice feel, and, you know, it's all about trying to find Christmas traditions, or holiday traditions, whatever which you like to call it. And, well, when it gets down to it, it actually has a nice, cozy feel to it. So, if you heard a lot of bad things about it, watch it before judging it. It's really not that bad, and, well, that's why I consider it this low on the list. Number 9, the Daddy's Home movies. Okay, well, this I can't pick. I know both of these, mainly the first one, is the better one out of the two, being that the second one, well, definitely suffers the sequel-itis and was not as well received, but I recommend still watching both of them. First one is not as much of a Christmas movie, even though there's a scene that obviously has him celebrating Christmas early, dressed as a Santa Claus and giving the kids presents. And the second one actually takes place during Christmas. And in case you're not, familiar with the concept of these movies, the first one is pretty simple. It's a typical Will Ferrell PG-13 type of comedy. And I know most of his movies nowadays are pretty hit and miss. He's done some really funny ones, and he's done some really not-so-great ones. And, well, okay, with the exception of Elf, which is the only PG-rated, family-friendly movie, most of the time he's good for the raunchy stuff. And this one is kind of raunchy. It seems like a family-friendly movie that somehow ended up with a PG-13 rating, being that, yes, there are some sexual references in here. So, yeah, I would be cautious with letting kids watch this, even though there are, of course, 2 kids in this. And the premise is simple. Will Ferrell is the stepfather, a very loving one. But, of course, the real father, played by Mark Wahlberg. And yes, I am also aware this is not the first and only collaboration between these 2 actors. Obviously, we've seen them before in the other guys, but let's not get too off track here. Yeah, Mark Wahlberg is the real father, even though, of course, he's divorced from the wife who, yes, has been in a bunch of other films you've seen before. And he's the more tough and rough type of father, I should say. And basically, they try not to get in each other's faces, but more or less try to accept each other for who they are. And, yeah, it becomes a bit of a who's the better father figure type of rivalry. But for the most part, I'd say it did the job. I think it was a pretty decent, funny comedy that is worth at least one watch. It has the imagination and the idea, but maybe lacks on the laughs and good ideas, per se. But for the most part, I'd say it did the job. I think it was a pretty decent, funny comedy that is worth at least one watch. And as well as the second one, which you may argue, like I said, is not as good as the first one. This time around, of course, it actually takes place during Christmas. Not to mention, John Cena's in this. He had a cameo at the end of the first one, and he has an even more longer appearance in this one. This time around, both their fathers come to visit. Will Ferrell's father's played by John Lithgow. He's more of the loving type of father who hugs and kisses him a lot. And meanwhile, Mark Wahlberg's father is played by Mel Gibson, who, just like him, is more of the muscular and tough type of guy. And yeah, again, this is not the only collaboration they were in a movie. Obviously, many years later, they were in Father Stu. But again, let's not get off track here. Both these grandfathers, I should say, clash, and it works for some parts. There's a few funny moments. It's once again raunchy like the first one, but it's kind of a little more empty on the laughs. But you appreciate it for being a Christmas movie. That's all I say right there. Watch it once. It's kind of forgettable, at least in comparison to the first one. That's about it right there. Both these movies have some moments where you'll get your laughs, then other moments that might make you cringe a little bit. But that's why I included it this low on the list. They're not masterpiece films, but for one starring Will Ferrell, they're far from the worst. So, give them a watch. At least for the sake of being Christmas movies, or if you're a fan of Will Ferrell. Number 8, Iron Man 3. Seriously, Iron Man 3? Yeah, it's a Christmas movie. It has plenty of mentions of Christmas, decorations, music, and there's snow in it. So, what more do I have to say? It may not be the best of the MCU, I mean, especially with the whole Mandarin thing, not to get too off topic, being that it has nothing to do with Christmas, but, well, like I said, if it has any mention of Christmas, there you go. Watch it. It may be better than the second one, but it's still obviously not as good as the first one, so give it a go right there if you want a decent Christmas special, but it's more or less unconventional. Number 7, Green Book. Yeah, I know. Once again, this is not the kind of movie you first think about when you think of Christmas. Being that, yeah, it doesn't take place till like maybe the last 30 or 40 minutes of the film until Christmas Eve or Christmas Day or whatever. And, okay, I'll just go right out and say, this is a great movie. And I actually agree with this one winning Best Picture of 2018. Compared to all the other movies that I honestly don't see what all the hype is about with them, I watch them and think to myself, these are the Best Picture winners. Compared to this one, I actually enjoyed this one unexpectedly. I didn't think it was going to be that great. Yeah, it's based on a true story, somewhat. Like any other Hollywood movie, of course it's not going to be 100% accurate. It's about a nightclub bouncer who's put out of the job for several months when the place is under renovation and has to find one in the meantime. Ends up taking one, being a chauffeur, and protect a black pianist who is very well educated, very talented, and very well mannered and professional as can be. And unexpectedly, they develop a big friendship along the way because, well, they're on the road for several months until Christmas Eve is when the tour ends. And of course, they have to deal with racism, being that it takes place in the 1960s. And it takes a lot of twists and turns and unexpected surprises. And the characters and everything, despite being based on real people, are very well likable. The dialogue is great. There's definitely some humor thrown in. It was just a great feel-good movie that definitely kept me invested for more than 2 hours. And it ends up as a Christmas movie, like I said. It wouldn't be on this list if it didn't take place or have any reference to Christmas, but it does. And that's why I consider it that. So whether you think it's a Christmas movie or not, it's still a great one. Number 6, Shazam. Yet another unconventional Christmas special, but I think this one definitely gives you more Christmas vibes than the last two films, wouldn't you say? I mean, the first 5 minutes in the flashback scene about our main villain starts out with the song Do You Hear What I Hear as they're driving to a Christmas party, even though it ends in a car accident and the father gets badly injured. And, well, even in the present day, you got snow, you got Christmas decorations, Santa Clauses. What more do you got to say there? Not much. It technically counts as a Christmas special. Again, an unconventional one, but yeah, it's not only a good Christmas special, but also a great DC comic entry into this series. Unexpectedly, and probably one of the best in 2019 that I ranked on my list. I know, I said I'm not going to include movies on my list. I said about past Christmas lists. I didn't say anything about past lists in general, which, again, I consider this one of the best. It's just a shame the sequel didn't work out, but let's not get off track here. That's not even a Christmas special, and it sadly suffers sequel-itis. So, yeah, this one is a Christmas special. Say the word, people. Shazam! Number 5, Hawkeye. Okay, yeah, this one you can't deny is a Christmas special, and it's a mini-series on Disney+. And it's surprisingly a very entertaining one. I know these mini-series have been very hit and miss over the last few years, and they did the wise thing of releasing this one in November of 2021, and each episode every week until Christmas, almost, in December. And yeah, it takes place around Christmas. What more do you got to say there? It, of course, revolves around not Hawkeye, but instead Kate Bishop, played by Haley Steinfeld, who looks up to Hawkeye, especially after the events of 2012 when she was younger, and the disaster and invasion that took place, which resulted in her father's tragic death. Her mother, on the other hand, survived, played by Vera Farmiga, and, well, she grows up and becomes a professional archer, just like Hawkeye. So I guess you could sort of call her Hawk Girl. And it, of course, takes place in the present day after the events of Endgame, and how she tries to fight evil. And Hawkeye, meanwhile, is in the city with his kids, and they're trying to enjoy Christmas. And, well, of course, she catches the attention of him. They both meet, and she's taken under his wings. And, basically, they have to fight a bunch of villains, and one of them, of course, being Kingpin, played by, yes, the same actor who played Private Pile, which most Marvel fans were excited to see, as well as Yelena, Black Widow's sister, getting involved and trying to take out Hawkeye because, well, for most of you who have seen Avengers Endgame, or most of you who haven't, spoiler alert, she died at the end, and basically she blames Hawkeye for her death, which obviously she was steered towards if you watch the entire movie Black Widow, which I know was not really the greatest, but I would watch that, and of course watch the post-credit scene that leads up to this. And, well, I'm not going to give anything away at that point. Just watch the series for yourself, because, yeah, it has Christmas decorations. It has Christmas parties. There's mention of Christmas specials, which they want to watch. You got the big tree in Rockefeller Center, which everybody goes down to see whenever they go down to the city. And, yeah, if you want a good Christmas special to watch on Disney Plus and you're a Marvel fan, give this one a go. In my opinion, it's probably one of the top 3 favorites of mine, right next to WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. So, not much to say there. And this one will definitely get you into the Christmas spirit for sure. Number 4, Ben is Back. Yeah, released in 2018, and I included it as an honorable mention of what I think the best movies are of that year. And yeah, obviously the main star to most people is Julia Roberts, playing the mother, remarried to another man, and out of nowhere, unexpectedly on Christmas Eve, yep, that makes it a Christmas movie, Ben Their son, played by Lucas Hedges, returns home from rehabbing after his drug addiction problem. And, well, over the next 24 hours, which is what the movie takes place over, basically Christmas Eve into Christmas Day, it becomes a bit of a roller coaster ride between him and his mother, which is what the movie focuses around mostly, and the rest of his family, his two younger siblings, as well as his younger sister, played by Katherine Newton, and stepfather, obviously, because the real father left. So, yeah, it's not quite the most jolly feeling type of Christmas movie. I mean, he has to deal with being kept under close supervision in case of a drug relapsing, and go to group therapy. He goes shopping and tries to rebuild his life back to normal, and then the thing happens and things go bad to worse. And then it becomes a race to try to find him, from his mother's perspective, and meanwhile he's trying to go find the dog after it's kidnapped. So, may seem like not much of a plot, but believe me, for a near 2-hour runtime, it kept me fully invested. It's one film that you definitely gotta give at least one watch. As I said, not the most jolliest and happiest of Christmas movies, but thanks to great performances out of these main stars, the film definitely works. Though there is one criticism that most people have, and I couldn't agree more, is the ending. Not going to give it away, but if you watch it and you see for yourself, you'll probably agree. But otherwise, if you can get over that, this one is definitely worth it. But, as I said, it's nothing like any of these other Christmas movies that bring you a lot of joy and a happy feel. It's a drama film. With some great performances, that's all I can say there. Number 3, The Holdovers. Okay, since this one is brand new and still playing in theaters as I'm making this video, I'm going to keep spoilers to a minimum. But, yeah, when I saw the trailer for this back when I saw Oppenheimer in theaters in July to be exact, I thought to myself, yeah, this is going to be an old school type of movie with an old school feel, and, well, since I just saw it, it gave me exactly that. It had an old school feel from the beginning to the end. Yeah, I mean, what do you expect when the movie takes place in the early 70s, and it takes place mainly at a boarding high school in a secluded section of New England with a bunch of rather rich kids, and, well, taking place mainly during Christmas when most of the kids go home for the holidays, and, well, a few kids have to stay back because they have nowhere to go. And being that it's a boarding school, they have to be watched by, well, out of all the teachers, this time around, the one that's not very much a favorite, played by Paul Giamatti. He's a very strict and uptight type of teacher. He doesn't give good grades to the kids when they think they deserve it. So, as you'd expect, it's going to be a miserable time with most of them. And, well, several of the kids actually leave, and it just leaves one of the kids back with him. So that's as far as I'll go with spoilers right there. And they're the typical high school kids. They're wise guys. They play pranks on one another. They act like tough guys. They act up. And they get punished by him. And they have to do work and all this kind of stuff that you expect because they're still on school grounds. They have to obey the rules. And, well, they curse. They swear. Yeah, it's another R-rated movie. And, well, thanks to performances, especially out of Paul Giamatti, you could always expect a great performance out of him, for the most part. Yeah, just about anything he's in, mostly, is usually great, and this movie is no exception. At first, he starts out like a bit of a jackass, because he's that type of teacher, but eventually he starts to cool down a bit, and he starts to open up, and the one kid starts to as well, and things start to become a bit cool. They have a good time and all that kind of stuff. For a movie that goes over 2 hours, I was thoroughly entertained. So, yeah, there's some serious moments. It definitely has some humor thrown in, and one or two surprises that definitely shocked me a bit. And, well, not to give anything away, go see it. I can't say any more. It's Paul Giamatti that really carries this movie, but the kid does too as well. So, all I could say is, because it takes place around Christmas, it's a great new Christmas movie. Number 2, Violent Night. Yeah, this one is actually just about a year old. Came out last year. I saw it in theaters. And, well, if it's at this spot on the list, You're probably wondering why I didn't give this one a review last year, which I apologize for not doing so. Well, long story short, I enjoyed the hell out of this one. It obviously stars Stranger Things actor David Harbour as, well, not exactly jolly old Saint Nick, but more or less drunken, tough, and obscene and dirty Saint Nick. Yeah, we kind of seen this before with Bad Santa, except this is a real Santa Claus who has the magic and everything, but is somehow tired of the job and wants to retire. Yeah, I mean, this guy, he drinks at bars. He pisses off the sled when it's flying in the sky. There's not much to say there. It's a raunchy Christmas comedy. And a violent one, too. And you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with Christmas? Come on. It's fun. It's funny. And, well, it actually revolves more around a family that goes to spend time at their big mansion. The grandmother, of course, that owns the place is played by Beverly D'Angelo. I don't think I have to say much there, considering she was also in the Vacation movies, especially the Christmas Vacation. And, of course, it gets taken over and held hostage by terrorists who are trying to get the money out of it. One of the terrorists, of course, is played by John Leguizamo. And, of course, the daughter, or granddaughter, I should say, is the only one who apparently believes in Santa and is the only one on the nice list, while all the other bad guys that are trying to take over the mansion are on the naughty list. And, well, Santa comes in to save the day in a bloody, action-packed spectacle in which you may think is redundant and mindless, but it's definitely much more entertaining and hilarious at the same time. I mean, the kills that he does are so creatively hilarious. He fights a guy putting billiards balls in a bag and hitting him with them, and electrocuting him by putting a Christmas star in him. He kills people with a sledgehammer, an ice skate, even blows people up. I mean, this is one Santa Claus you do not want to mess with. Not much to say there. Just watch it. It's a good time. It references his Die Hard, Home Alone, and that's pretty much what it feels like. An R-rated version of Home Alone mixed with Die Hard. And even though it may seem a little redundant and ridiculous, it also does have a good Christmas feel to it. You know, all about believing and all that kind of stuff, especially towards the end. It even tells Santa's backstory of why he became Santa Claus and everything. So, despite a lot of raunchy and violent stuff, I mean, the movie's called Violent Night, it's a good time and, well, it's a great Christmas movie. And there's even a scene during the middle of the credits, which is funny. So, yeah. Obviously, again, this is also not a kid's movie, but for adults like ourselves, we definitely enjoyed this one. And the number one modern-day Christmas special, in my opinion, is A Christmas Story Christmas. Yep, also released last year, but only to Max, as well as I think even another streaming service that you can either buy or rent it off of. And yes, there are places that are selling physical copies of this movie as well. Yeah. I included this as an honorable mention of my top 10 best movies of 2022, and I can't say much more. This is a worthy sequel. Yeah, we can all agree Christmas Story released 40 years ago to be exact. So that's right. The coming-of-age classic still holds up, and I know has been marketed to death and played to death on a 24-hour loop every Christmas Eve night into Christmas Day. But come on, you can't resist. It's a classic. I mean, Ralphie wants a BB gun. The kid gets his tongue stuck to the flagpole. The father gets the leg lamp, which gets destroyed. The Bumpus hounds eat the turkey. Yeah, you get it. So, of course, they had to make sequels and milk the crap out of it for what it is, which it already did before... yeah, this pile of crap. So, most of us hated this before it even released. I mean, when I saw the trailer for this, I immediately thought it wasn't for real. But I'm holding it right here, and there's not much to say about it. This was one that nobody wanted, and I'm not surprised. So when I first heard about this one being released, I thought to myself, why? Why would they do this? But thankfully, it was much better than expected. For one thing, they put effort into it. They brought back the original cast members, yes, including the one who played Ralphie, as adults, in more or less a cast reunion, with all but except the mother, who originally was played by Melinda Dillon, who unfortunately passed away this year, may she rest in peace, but instead was played by Julie Haggerty, who you probably remember from the Airplane movies as well as What About Bob. And I'm not going to lie, as much as I wanted to be against this, she actually made it work. But yeah, it doesn't just recycle the same ideas like this piece of crap did. And basically, he's got kids. He's got a wife. His father unfortunately passed away, which in real life he did actually, played by Darren McGavin, and they rightfully did not replace him with Daniel Stern, which we can all agree was a huge, huge misstep that this pile of crap took. Yeah, Darren McGavin will always have the legacy as the old man, as Ralphie would call him. He will always be the father in this movie. Granted that Charles Grodin did do a decent job in the other sequel that came out right after it, but let's not get off track here. Yeah, we're talking about the Christmas Story sequels that are Christmas. And Ralphie has to more or less fill in the void that he left, but at the same time be himself, if that makes any sense. He's trying to write a novel, which doesn't turn out to be a big success, and at the same time balance out trying to do all these things around Christmas. Trying to get the kids gifts, trying to have them have a Merry Christmas, and do all sorts of fun stuff. And the kids, they deal with the same sort of thing that he dealt with bullies, and he meets up with old friends at the bar, and they do all sorts of crazy stuff. Yes, all the same actors, as I said before, that played those kids, like Flick and Schwartz, they all return. Even Scott Farkus returns. And yeah, there are references to the past film, which are fine. I mean, there's a lot of paid homages, which is fine. It's better to do that and come up with new ideas at the same time, rather than just straight up recycling them like this piece of crap did. Ugh, let's try to forget that this garbage ever existed, shall we? But anyway, yes. If you think right off the bat it's going to be as bad as that one, and you're like, why are they doing this again? Give it a watch. Trust me. It is not a bad film at all. It definitely shows once again that there was a lot of effort put into it to make it a worthy sequel. Yes, it's not as good as the first, but it almost shows that they actually can make a good sequel. So, that's my list right there, people. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you celebrate. Hope it's a good one. Thanks for watching.